We'll move on to the announcement of our boy Joey Votto retires. Reds did a tribute video, and the emotional me cried through the entire thing. It was awesome. It was like a 4 or 5 minute video of his career, like his viral video clips with like Chris Mad Dog Russo and all
Oh
that
man, he
like
was so funny in
stuff.
that interview.
So funny. But is Joey Votto a Hall of Famer? Now this is the ultimate borderline. Like
Oh my goodness.
obviously Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. But what this guy meant to this Reds franchise during that stretch of time was something special. I mean, he had a MVP in there. I mean, all the All-Star appearances, home runs, he's borderline, maybe a little low. Average is up there, but I mean, with character alone, which we know, which we'll get into later, is a big part of the Hall of Fame. Does Votto get in because his character kind of puts him over the hump there?
Because he's likable?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Statistically, is he a Hall of Famer? No. I mean, 294 career average, 356 home runs, 1,144 RBIs, 2135 hits. I mean, he's not like a no way, but he's like a really like.
He's
but at the same time, like,
borderline.
But I look at him and what he meant to the organization, that city, the league. You know what the fans think of him, and my guess is the writers all love him too. I think he gets in. I think he probably gets in on the first ballot because he might be one of the most genuinely liked people in the entire game.
Yeah. 6-time All-Star, Gold Glove, MVP. I mean, like, he has the accolades there. I just, like you said, the pile of numbers just isn't quite Hall of Fame. But
I mean, the hard part is that, like, statistically, he's about the same hitter with more power as Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer got in. You could make an argument that, well, if he gets in, Votto. But Votto played a premier offensive position. Mauer didn't. So it's a hard one for Joey Votto. But his career WAR is higher than Mauer's. Like, you can make a lot of arguments for why he should get in. But I think because he was so liked, he does get in. But I've said it on the show 50 times, and I'll say it again. If MLB does not find a way to keep that man involved in the game in some way, they're missing a huge opportunity to grow the game. There is nobody that connects with the fans better than Joey Votto.
I agree. Love everything that he was on and off the field. And like you said, you got to find a way to keep him involved somehow.
Yeah, I'm not a Reds fan, and Joey Votto is one of my favorite players of all time.
Dude,
Could care less about the Reds, but he's one of my favorite baseball guys of all time because he was just such a great ambassador of the game and a character, and the way he interacted with fans. Like, he did everything you could ever ask a ball player to do. And he made baseball, for many people, worth watching just to see him play and to see him interact and see him have fun.
Yeah. When I went to Cincinnati a couple summers ago to get that stadium checked off, I was so bummed he was on the shelf. Like, he was the main reason I was going. I wanted to see him.
That dude's like the mayor of Cincy.
It's awesome. So, all right. Let's get over to the Seattle Mariners now. Scott Servais fired. Dan Wilson's in. And the Mariners have lost a 10-game lead that they had in mid-June. Lost a 10-game lead. And their landslide continues. I mean, they've already fired like 2 hitting coaches. They can't hit. And they fired 2 hitting coaches throughout the year. That's still not working. Does firing Scott Servais at this point of the season do anything either?
No, I mean, is Dan Wilson going to like sprinkle some pixie dust on the bats so they hit better? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add. Yeah, no, I don't.
Good radio right now, boys.
What's the thought process on Scott Servais being fired now? I don't know. I mean, I think, they're looking. How far out are they? Let me look real quick. How far out are they? Are
4.5 in the division, 6.5 in the wild card. I mean, that's a lot of games.
So
they're going to make up 7 games in 30. That's going to be hard.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I just was curious. I mean, I think you're looking right now. Just can we end it on a good note? Can we turn this thing around? Can we go on a bit of a run? Do we have the right core? Like, do we have the right kind of guys in the clubhouse? Do we need to get a couple of kind of fringe character type of players, or do we need to really kind of blow this thing up? Kind of get rid of down to the studs. I mean, obviously you keep, J-Rod, but like, are we bringing this thing down to the studs and starting from the basement? I think that's kind of what you're trying to figure out right now if you're Seattle. And I think you have the first discussion you have is, okay, if all we need is to sprinkle some fringe players around, is Scott Servais the guy to do that? And clearly they thought no, so they got rid of him now. Like to me, that's really the only thing that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah,
because you're not making the postseason at this point.
No, I mean their odds of making it to the playoffs are very, very unlikely. They got to get on they got to be 7 games better than the Astros. If the Astros go 500 the rest of the way and play 15-15 baseball, they got to go 22-8. I mean,
yeah, right. It's not happening.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, 6.5 games a month ago wasn't a big deal. 6.5 games now is a problem, or 4.5 games now is a problem. But the comment from Votto was, they need a new voice. They feel like he's kind of lost touch with the players, which I think is a great cop-out way to say we want to change the manager. But really, this is the guy who was a manager of the year, 2 or 3 years ago? He's consistently been given teams that are clearly flawed and done a lot with them. This year, they have the best pitching staff in baseball and the worst offense. Like, Scott Servais can't magically make these guys hit. But if Votto had built a lineup that gave him some depth, he could have worked with it. So this is one of those situations where I feel like the cupboard was bare. That's Votto's fault. But they're going to make the change at manager thinking because they somehow feel like either they've got the right mix or somebody's got to go down for it. And it's not going to be Votto. He's going to stick around and try to rebuild this thing. But the window's closing. They can't keep these pitchers forever. And they got to figure out where the offense is going to come from. And the trade for Suarez didn't work. That's on Votto. Like, you look at the moves they've made, they haven't worked. And that's on the GM. That's not on Scott Servais.
Yeah, I think your only untouchables in your lineup are J-Rod and Cal Raleigh, right? I mean, everybody else is, I mean, Jake Raley, Arozarena, Polanco, Turner, Rojas,
Roble?
Canzone. Well, they just signed him to an extension.
Yeah, he's a spark plug, though. You need a guy like that.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like, you can't have your lineup be based around Cal Raleigh and J-Rod. It's not going to work.
You just don't have enough depth.
I mean, I think you got to blow up that whole starting lineup and try over.
They need to spend some money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've looked at the free agents before. I don't know if there's anything out there to really get to put them over the hump either. So I don't know. I don't think firing a manager when you're already past the tailspin, like you've already crashed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you have a month left. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the clubhouse. Maybe you're right, Sean. Maybe he did lose everybody and no one was there to play. Like, they're just going through the motions, and they need somebody to go in and be like, hey, we got a month left.
That's what he said. I mean, that's what the GM said, is that it got a little stale and they needed a new voice. Now, Harrison says that that's the biggest cop-out, which in a sense I can agree with, but I think the timing of it, to me, tells you what you need to know. Like, if you fire somebody at the end of the year and you're like, oh, well, we just need a new voice. It's like, all right, fine. But like, you're firing somebody now when the tailspin already pretty much happened. I wouldn't say it's over, but like, the damage has been done at this point from the tailspin, right? They're out. Yeah. I think we can all agree they're not getting into the postseason. So like I was saying, to me, I'm looking at this going, okay, they are trying to see, yes, maybe we need a new voice, but do we also need new guys? Like, do we need new core players?